My dear girl, I know that this letter may never reach your hands. Maybe the paper will age before you even see it. Maybe time will swallow it before your eyes discover these words that, even though late, were born from a love that never knew. A clock. But even so, this silent night asks me to write. The rain dances lightly against the window pane, and there is a candle lit beside me. It wavers sometimes, as if hesitating to continue illuminating this moment. But it resists, just as I resisted all these years the absence that you fill. You don't know me, not by your face, not by your voice, not by your touch. But I know you in the purest way that someone can know another being, by love before meeting, by the space you occupied inside me before you even had a name, by the memory I created of you, even without ever seeing you grow up. As I write, I try to imagine what you would have become. Did you like to hear the wind in the pine trees, like I did when I was little? Do you laugh easily? Or do you carry the world silently inside your chest? Sometimes I think that perhaps, without knowing it, you inherited that same stillness that lulls me today as I write these lines. There are nights when I dreamed about you, even when I didn't want to dream. I saw you running through fields that don't exist, with flowers in your hair and a laugh that echoed like a song that only I could hear. On those nights, I would wake up with wet eyes and my chest full of a feeling I couldn't name. Longing, perhaps, for something that never happened, or guilt for everything I wasn't. This letter, my girl, is all I can give you now. It is made of the silence that surrounded us, of the distance that I did not choose, but accepted. And above all, it is made of the love that could never be said, nor lives, but that was always here trapped between what I was and what I could have been, if the paths had been different. You were born from a moment of tenderness, a grief almost sacred, moment between two bodies that met more out of necessity than destiny. It wasn't love between your father and me, but there was truth in the touch, and from that you came. When I knew I was carrying you, my world went silent for days, not out of fear, but out of awe. There was a life inside me, you, and everything felt different. Sometimes I spend hours looking at the sky, not as if I were waiting for an answer, but as if I were accepting that I don't have one. I wonder where you are. If you think about me, even without knowing that you do. If, when you look in the mirror, you've ever wondered who you inherited your eyes from, or that trace of melancholy that insists on living in the corners of your smile. Life has taken me down crooked paths, my girl, and I don't write this as an excuse, but as a confession. I was too young, too fragile, too lacking in the kind of courage it takes to challenge the world. When I placed you in the arms of another woman, I wished she would give you everything I couldn't. A home with strong walls, safe hands, a routine full of warmth and care. But what no one told me is that when you give up a child, you don't just give up a small, defenseless body, you give up a piece of your own heart. And mine has stayed with you ever since. The first time I heard your cry, I was surrounded by cold walls and hurried hands. But still, it was the sweetest, most painful sound I've ever heard. I closed my eyes, touched her skin for a few seconds, and all I felt was love. A love so strong that it made me do what I feared most, let you go. Maybe you grew up thinking you were abandoned. Maybe they told you that your biological mother disappeared or never wanted to know about you. And maybe it was easier that way. But the truth is, my girl, that loving you was the hardest and bravest choice I ever made. Because not loving you would have been easy. It would have saved me years of longing, of interrupted dreams, of torn letters that never left the drawer. I don't expect you to forgive me, nor to understand me. I just want you to know with the depth that these words allow that you were, are, and will always be loved. Not by a name, nor by a face, but by a soul that recognizes you even from a distance. Sometimes I find myself smiling alone, imagining the life you might have led. A marriage perhaps, children, a dog playing in the backyard. Or who knows, a solitary life, full of books and open windows like mine. Whatever it was, I hope you were happy. And that, in some inexplicable way, you felt my presence blowing through the curtains, in the silence of the early morning hours, in the gentle warmth of the morning sun. Today I write because I feel that time is telling me something. There is a new tranquility in me, as if by writing these lines, something is finally settling inside, as if the old wound is no longer bleeding, but is simply healing in peace. You are my living letter to the world, a story that no one has read until now, but that, even in silence, existed with strength. Maybe this letter won't reach you. Maybe it will get lost like so many others. But I needed to write it. I needed to tell you, even if it's in the wind. My dear girl, I have loved you since before my first breath, and I will continue to love you far beyond the last. The letter remains on the table, next to the candle that still insists on keeping. A warm, almost timid light lit. In the background, the rain whispers against the roof, as if each drop had a story to tell. There is no thunder, there is no rush, just a patient, continuous drumming that cradles the unspoken words. Time passes slowly here. It's as if the world has stopped to listen with me to what my heart is trying to say without rushing. There's an old wall clock right behind me. It creaks slightly with each second it ticks. Tick, tock, tick, tock. An old sound, almost forgotten, but comforting, as if it were the heart of a house that has learned to wait. When the wind decides to visit, it doesn't come in with force. He just gently leans against the window, making the curtains sigh slightly. The air fills with the scent of wet earth and memories. And for a moment, everything seems alive, the sound of the rain, the rhythm of the clock, the whisper of the wind, all in perfect harmony, as if they had been summoned to witness the writing of this letter. It's on nights like these, my girl, that longing turns into presence, when the world slows down and silence becomes shelter. It's as if you were sitting here on the other side of the table, with your eyes attentive and serene, listening to every word that escapes the paper. Sometimes I stop writing and just listen. The sound of rain reminds me of the nights when, as a young man, I lay in bed fearful of the future. I didn't know where life would take me, but there was something comforting in knowing that the rain, at least, would always come back. And now it has. And now, so have you if only in memory. The clock continues its wooden song. Its sound is not perfect. There are gaps, pauses, as if it too hesitates. And this comforts me. It makes me feel less alone in my weariness. It is time spent like me, a time that does not run, just accompanies. Maybe you've also experienced moments like this, my daughter. Moments when all we needed was for the world to slow down a little. When silence was a blanket, not a void. When the sound of the rain was company, not melancholy. I wonder if you have a place like this, a corner of the world where you can listen to your own heart without interruption, where you can breathe deeply without rushing, without fear. If you do, I hope it is as kind as this one. I hope it welcomes you as this night welcomes me now. I close my eyes for a few moments, and I listen. The sound of the rain doesn't change, but each drop seems to have a different weight. Some fall like questions, others like answers. And among them, there are memories that I don't even know if they are mine or yours. Do you also listen to the rain with this kind of attention? Have you ever thought of me in those lonely moments when everything is silent? Sometimes when the wind blows more firmly against the window, I imagine it's you. As if somewhere, even without knowing it, you also feel that there's something here waiting for you. Maybe it's crazy to think so, but this letter is made of sweet madness, of hopes that resist, of loves that never completely died. The world outside continues to exist, of course, but here inside, everything is slower, more gentle, as if time granted me this sacred moment to speak to you without fear, without haste, without anyone interrupting. The night wraps me like an old blanket, and the loneliness stops hurting because in it, today, you are present. Sometimes the wind blows a little harder through the crack in the window. It messes up the papers, moves the folds of the letter, makes me smile without knowing why. Maybe you're laughing too, from somewhere I can't reach. Or maybe it's just the universe having fun with our attempt to keep alive the feelings that, no one else sees. What we have here is not complete silence. It is a silence full of small sounds alive. Sounds that do not shout, do not demand. They simply exist. And in them, I find myself, because it is in them that you also live. In the pause between 1 second and the next, in the interval between one drop and the next, in the breeze that touches the curtain and makes everything seem like it is daydreaming. I'm afraid this night will end, afraid the clock will stop ticking gently, afraid the rain will stop and take with it this peace that now visits me. But I also know that each night like this brings me closer to you. Even if you never read these words, even if you never know this letter was written. Still, something in me believes you can feel it, and that's enough. Today, the sound of time is my ally, and in the rhythm between rain and clock, between wind and silence, I write calmly, because this letter is not made to run. It is made to last, to remain. Like the love I feel for you. It's past midnight. The world seems to have retreated to some hidden place where words are no longer urgent and footsteps do not echo. Here, only the small sounds remain, the ones that almost no one notices during the day. The wood of the house slowly cracks. The kettle on the stove no longer hisses, but its warmth still lingers in the air, mixed with the soft scent of the chamomile tea I made earlier. I'm sitting by the window, and from my old chair I can see the garden outside. The flowers sleep, silently, huddled under the weight of the night's humidity. It's strange to think that everything continues to exist even without a witness. Nature doesn't need an audience to be beautiful, just as love doesn't need to be reciprocated to be true. The candlelight dances across the paper. It's a timid but steady dance, as if it also has something to say, but knows that this is my turn to speak. There are no sudden noises, no voices, no rush. There's just me, the paper, and that thick silence that fills everything with a calm. That's almost sacred. Today, I felt like it was the right night. Not because something happened, but because nothing happened. There is no specific pain, nor is there any more acute longing than normal. There is only this deep stillness, this retreat of the soul that called me back to words. I've been trying to write this letter for years, but something was always missing. Courage, perhaps, or time, or just silence. And today he came. This kind of silence doesn't hurt. On the contrary, it welcomes us. It sits beside us like an old friend, without demanding conversation, just presence. And in this kind of presence, everything that was once tumult becomes organized. That's why I'm writing now, because there are no more screams inside me, only murmurs. And in those murmurs you appeared. The house is quiet. There's no one else awake, but me, not even the cats, who have already snuggled into the warm corners of the couch. The kettle was turned off. The last electric light went out. The world outside sleeps, and that gives me permission to dive into memories without fear of being interrupted. My table is simple, made of light wood with signs of age on the corners. There is a mug of cold tea, a forgotten handkerchief, and a photo frame turned upside down. I left it like that on purpose tonight, not because I want to forget the face it holds, but because I need to look inside and sometimes external images, disturb the inner silence. The paper I write on is thick, cream-colored, slightly yellowed with age. I have kept it for years, as if I knew it would have a greater purpose. Pen in hand, the words come slowly, but not with effort. They glide as if they had already been, written in another time, and now they are just waiting for the moment to reveal themselves. The breeze comes in gently through the crack in the window. It doesn't disturb the papers, just passes over them gently, as if reading each line before. Me. And for a moment, I imagine it's you. That somehow, you're awake right now, too, maybe turning over in bed, maybe staring at the ceiling, feeling a nameless void. And if so, if by chance the silence of this night reached you too, then perhaps, just perhaps, our souls are meeting. Not in flesh, not in time, but in sensation. Writing is what I have left. Words are the only place I can touch you without fear, where I can tell you everything that was stuck inside, all the phrases that I froze inside me for years, waiting for the right time. This is the time. There are no tears today. There were many in the past, but not today. There is only this tranquility that delicately envelops everything. I don't know if it's tiredness or time that softens the edges of the pain. But here I am, writing as if it were the last time. And maybe it is. Not because something bad is going to happen, but because there's something definitive about nights like this. Time seems suspended. The clock's hands keep moving, but slowly, as if it respects what is happening, as if it understands that there are stories that can only be told when everything else falls asleep. The pen scratches the paper with a discreet sound, like a whisper. Each word carries the weight of what was saved, and yet there is no rush to finish them. I feel like every sentence needs to breathe. I feel like every pause is also part of the letter. My hand sometimes rests on the paper, not out of tiredness, but out of contemplation. I reread what I have just written, and I remain silent for a whole minute. Not because I doubt, but because I want to honor every syllable. You deserve this, even without knowing, even without hearing. You deserve a love that does not run, a love that waits. And this is mine. Today, the night does not scare me. It is my company. It is the womb where this letter was born. And if there is something sacred in the world, I believe it is this moment. A mother writing to the daughter she never held, but always loved. And the world doesn't need to know. This letter is not for the world. It's just ours. I close my eyes. For a moment, the sound of the wind, the distant rain, and my own heart blend together in a peaceful rhythm. I put down the pen, not because the letter is finished. There is still much to say, but because this passage has found its place. And tomorrow, or another night like this, I will continue with the same calm, with the same love, with the same presence. My dear, if you are listening to these words, or if they have come to you by some quirk of time, I want you to know that this letter was written late. Yes, very late. Years after the moment I should have spoken. But it is not because I did not want to, nor because I have forgotten you. On the contrary, it's precisely because I never stopped remembering. I write because the silence weighed more than I imagined. I write because time passed, and with it came many things, some good, some difficult. but all burdened with the absence of what never came to be. I write because, even though you are not present, the love I felt for you never disappeared. It just fell silent. It waited. And now he wants to be heard. This letter is a farewell, but not in the way people usually understand it. It is not a goodbye that ends or cuts off. It's a farewell that brings relief, that frees the hands tied by guilt and longing, which allows me to finally say what I have kept inside for so long. I wasn't there when you cried for the first time. I wasn't there when you took your first step. I didn't rock you in the early hours of the morning. I didn't see your teeth grow. I didn't hear your first words. These moments, so small and grand, were lived by other hands, other eyes, other laps, and for a long time that broke me. But today, after years of silence and contemplation, I understand that to love is also to accept what cannot be changed, and that love, when true, does not require constant presence. It survives in the most subtle gestures, in memories that were never made, but still exist. The reason for this letter is not to ask for your forgiveness. I know that maybe you need it, or maybe you don't. But this letter carries no demands, nor hidden hopes. It is just my way of saying, I was here. I thought about you every day, even from afar, even in secret, even without the right to. I write because silence, however gentle it may seem, begins to harden inside when it goes on too long. And I want my last memory, even if you never read it, to be one of tenderness, not regret. I know I can't fill the empty spaces in your life. I can't redo time. I can't go back to the days when you might have cried alone, wondering why. But I can, here and now, write. I can tell you that you were loved even before you were born. Even though you weren't in my arms, you were in my chest, in the most protected and silent part of my being. Sometimes I wonder what you're like. If you inherited my crooked smile, or if your eyes have the same shade as mine. If you speak softly like me, or if you learn to be strong because you had to. If you keep letters, if you believe in coincidences, if you listen to sad music on rainy days, if there's someone who loves you the way you deserve to be loved. I may never know the answers, but the simple act of imagining you of recreating your existence in the lines of this letter brings me closer. It reconciles me with what life has taken away. You have not been forgotten, and that is why I write, because keeping you inside me is no longer enough. I want to leave your existence written in the world, even if it is between the lines of a letter that may never be opened. This letter is also a silent plea, not for understanding, but for freedom. I want part of me to be freed from the weight of having remained silent for so long by putting it on paper. I want what has been suffocating me inside to turn into wind and fly away. Today, I understand that silence is a form of prison, and love, to be liked, needs to be said, even if it's late, even if it's only between the breeze and the lit candle. I do not write expecting a response. This letter does not expect an echo. It only wants to exist, to be a witness to something that lived, too hidden. And if one day, somehow, it reaches your eyes or even your heart, without being read that you feel, even for an instant, the warmth of what wanted to be loved and could not. Farewells are like sunsets. They do not bring the day to an abrupt end. They envelop it in soft tones, in colors that prepare the spirit for the darkness that is coming, but also announce rest. This letter is that, my sunset, my gesture of rest, my last attempt to make peace with the past. You owe me nothing. No memory, no affection, no thought. But I owed you this, a letter, a story, a whisper of what was, of what could have been. And now, with trembling hands and a calm heart, I fulfill this silent debt. This is the reason for the letter, not pure regret, nor blind guilt, but mature love, which finally understands that even emptiness has its value, that even absences build memories, that even what was not lived deserves to be honored. And this letter is my way of honoring you. After I closed my eyes for a few seconds, a delicate thought crept through the crack in my mind, like a fragile ray of sunlight coming through the window on a cloudy day. It was you, not as a souvenir, because I don't have one, not even as a feeling of longing, because what you never had is never lost. It was more like a tender idea, an invented presence, but full of truth. I began to imagine what his life would be like. It's strange, isn't it, to think so fondly of someone you've never touched. But there are things that the heart holds even, without the body having experienced them. And this silent night gave me the courage to open this chest of possibilities where you exist in your way, in my way, in a way that will never be confirmed. And yet, it is real. I imagine you with brown hair, falling messily over your shoulders, like mine when I was young. Or maybe you inherited the dark, straight tone from your father, the one who never knew you existed. Your eyes, perhaps curious, perhaps shy. Do they also look at the world with that expression of someone who sees poetry even in the simplest things? Sometimes I think you must like rain. That maybe, on nights like this, you also light a candle and allow yourself a moment of silence. I like to think you have a sensitive heart, the kind that feels too much and keeps quiet so as not to disturb. And secretly, I wish someone had told you that this is not weakness, it is beauty. It is strength contained in tenderness. Do you write? Sometimes I imagine you with a hidden notebook, one of those with loose pages where you record dreams, fears and small miracles of everyday life. I think that perhaps at some point in your life, you too felt that something was missing, and that you tried to fill that void with art, with words, with music, with that which does not require explanation. I also find myself thinking about your ordinary days. Do you wake up early, have a leisurely breakfast, or rush because you're always late? What do you do for a living? Do you teach, raise, care, lead, Or are you still trying to figure it out? Do you have friends with whom you share the silence? Or do you walk alone through the city streets, looking at shop windows without rushing? Sometimes my heart wishes that you were truly loved, that someone at some point looked into your eyes and saw something that you didn't even know existed, and that this someone stayed, that they chose you on the beautiful days and especially on the cloudy days. I know it's a bold, almost naive wish, but mothers wish, even those who weren't present. I think about how you laugh. If it's that open, contagious laugh, or if it's discreet, shy, as if the world needed to deserve this gift. I imagine your hands, perhaps small, perhaps firm, your hands that hold the everyday, that caress life, that build a destiny that I could never touch, but that somehow belongs to me a little, because you came from me. There are nights when I dream of you, and in the dreams you are a child running through the trees, wearing something light, smiling at me as if you know I am your mother. And even though we have never met, in that brief moment there is recognition, as if souls remember what their bodies have not experienced. I don't know if you like flowers, but if you do, I imagine that roses give you a headache and that you prefer daisies, simple, delicate, with a beauty that doesn't demand attention. I imagine you stopping in front of gardens, smelling the wind, closing your eyes, because sensitive people feel the world differently, and I think you are one of those. Have you ever had your heart broken? Did someone promise to stay and then leave? If this has happened to you, I hope you have found solace. I hope you have discovered that it is not failure to be left, but courage to continue. I hope you have rebuilt yourself with kindness, and that you have learned to love yourself, even in the pieces. I imagine your voice, maybe deep and calm, or high and sweet, but always firm when you speak of what you believe. I see you defending causes, protecting people, building a better world in your own way, even if it's small, even if it's imperceptible, because there is greatness in existing with dignity. And I want to believe that you are like that. Maybe you have children now, or maybe you have chosen not to have them. Maybe you want to one day carry a new life in your arms. Or maybe the world already asks so much of you that you feel you don't need to give birth to anyone to be a mother, because sometimes motherhood is in the care we give to those around us. I also think about your sadness, and that hurts a little more, because in those moments, instinct speaks louder. And I wish I had been by your side in your dark days. I wish I had held you when the ground disappeared. I wish I had told you that you were strong, that you were loved, that you were not alone. But I wasn't. And that absence is a scar that I carry with me with humility, without trying to erase it, without dramatizing it, only with truth. The truth is that, even though you weren't part of your life, you were part of mine, silently, in the back of my mind, in the corner of my chest, in the little choices, on the birthdays when I was silent, on the days when I saw children and felt something move inside. You are, in a way, my unwritten poetry, my unfinished chapter, my parallel life that never happened, but always existed. And now, writing this letter, I recreate you, not as an invention, but as a gesture of love, a silent rescue of that which was denied, but never forgotten. I hope you are happy, not in a perfect movie-like way, but in a sincere way, with ups and downs, with enough peace to sleep soundly, with simple joys like a hot coffee, a spontaneous laugh, an unexpected sunset. I hope you love yourself, even with your flaws, with your doubts, with the days when you don't know what you're doing. I hope you look in the mirror and see a whole woman, not because you're complete, but because you have the courage to continue even though you're incomplete. And most of all, I hope you know somewhere in your soul, even if you don't know where it comes from, that there is someone who has always loved you in silence. Dear, as I write these last lines, I feel the weight and lightness mingling in my chest. It is as if each word is a drop of rain falling on a still lake, causing small ripples that, little by little, calm down again. I want you to know that, above all, this letter is a hug that I never gave you, but that I send now, through time and space, to wrap you in tenderness and protection, no matter where you are or who you have become. This is my way of reaching you with words made of silence and love, of waiting and longing. If you ever feel that the world is too heavy, that the nights seem too long, that loneliness whispers louder than any song, remember, you are not alone. There is an invisible presence that walks beside you, even if you cannot see it. A silent voice that will always wish you light. My hope is that these words will find you in a quiet moment, like tonight as I write, and that they will be like a candle burning in the shadows, small flame that warms and guides. May you sleep peacefully, feeling the affection I try to convey, even from a distance. May your dreams be light, protected, and may peace settle in your heart, gently, like a summer breeze. I don't ask you to forgive me, nor to forget me. I just want you to keep, inside yourself, a space for what was and what never was. May there be room for the love that has become invisible, but no less true. May there be space for life too. Continue, despite the absence, with all its colors, pains, and joys. And when night falls again, and the world grows silent, may these words surround you like a whisper, a sweet murmur that lulls you to rest. With all my love, for you who are my daughter, for you who are part of me, and of everything I have ever experienced, as long as time permits and beyond. Mother, before all this, before you existed and the letter was written, there was a girl who grew up among trees, winds, and the welcoming silence of nature. That girl is me. My childhood was painted in soft colors, far from the noise of the cities, in a place where time seemed to flow more slowly. A simple, humble home, but full of small miracles that only those who live close to the land know. The house where I grew up was not big, but it was a fortress made of memories. Walls that heard laughter and tears, windows that let the golden light of the morning sun in, and a backyard that was my entire world. It was there that I discovered the secrets of flowers, the song of birds, and the dance of the wind among the leaves. I remember the silent mornings when the dew still rested on the grass and the sky dawned in shades of pink and blue. I would go out barefoot, feeling the cool earth beneath my feet, and lose myself in the trails that wound through the woods behind my house. There, among the ancient trunks and intertwined branches, I felt free. Free to dream, to imagine stories that only existed inside my head. My father worked in the fields, getting up early to tend the land, as if he were speaking to it in a language only they understood. My mother was a serene woman with a shy smile, whose hands were both gentle and firm at the same time. She taught me to listen to the silence because sometimes that was where the answers appeared. In that simplicity, I learned to appreciate what is invisible. The smell of wet earth after rain, the brightness of the stars on cloudless nights, the distant sound of a lazy stream. Every detail seemed like a little story waiting to be told. We didn't have many toys, but our imagination made up for any lack. A piece of wood could become a boat, a stone could become a castle, and the sky was the limit for my adventures. I spent hours looking at the clouds, trying to decipher shapes, inventing worlds and characters. Nature was my most constant friend. I felt the embrace of the wind on warm afternoons, heard the soft music of the rain hitting the roof, and watched the leaves fall slowly in the fall, as if each one carried a secret away. All of this taught me about cycles, about time, about waiting. At that time, I was already a silent girl who liked to be alone, lost in thought. My voice was low, and I preferred to listen. Perhaps it was there that the part of me that learned to observe without judging was born, that found comfort in the mystery of small things. Life in that simple house was marked by the rhythm of nature and family TIs. Quiet dinners by lamplight, low conversations around the table, the smell of freshly baked bread that my mother made with such care. They were small moments, but they were full of love, a quiet love that didn't need to be shouted to exist. I also learned that even in simplicity, there is beauty and strength. That life, even when it seems modest and dull, has its own light that illuminates the souls that inhabit it. It was in this environment that I began to build my identity, an identity that I would carry with me throughout my life. Sometimes when I think about that little girl, I feel a mixture of longing and gratitude. Longing for the innocence and the peace that seemed infinite. Gratitude for having known a home where silence was a hug and nature a school. And perhaps that girl was the truest part of me, the part that still exists silently when I write letters like this to you, the part that believes that even in absences and losses, tenderness can bloom like wildflowers that bloom where you least expect them. As I write to you, daughter, I carry these roots with me, because even if I was not part of your childhood, I want you to know that the mother who writes to you was, one day, a girl surrounded by the simple and profound love of the land, family, and silence. And it is from this place calm, serene and full of life, that I send you this letter, so that you know that the story that unites us does not begin with our farewell. It begins much earlier, on the banks of a stream, under the open sky, where a girl dreamed of a bigger world and loved you, even without knowing you. After that childhood surrounded by the gentle embrace of nature, came the awakening of a new and unknown feeling, first love. A feeling that arrived like a gentle breeze on a summer afternoon, bringing with it a mixture of sweetness and restlessness. I was still a girl who was just beginning to discover the world, and he was a young man from the village, someone with deep eyes and a shy smile, who seemed to carry the weight of his own dreams. We met on dirt paths and in the shadows of trees, where life seemed simpler, but also more intense. Our love was like this, delicate like the petals of a flower, but at the same time full of thorns that no one taught us to avoid. It was a secret, kept between whispers and furtive glances, a flame that lit up in silence, but that sometimes threatened to go out in the face of difficulties. He had a sweet, caring way about him that made me feel special. I remember the afternoons we spent together, walking slowly under the blue sky, talking about dreams we didn't yet know how to make come true. There was a whole world ahead of us, and it seemed like anything was possible when we were side by side. But love, even the purest, is not only made of light. It also carries shadows, doubts and fears that grow over time. Our relationship was marked by these ups and downs, by moments of joy and others of heavy silence. Sometimes we were like two, calm waters that met, and other times, like storms that collided without knowing which way to go. I remember the small arguments that seemed big in those days, and the fear we felt of losing something we didn't even know what it was yet. There was pride, insecurity, and a silent fear that we weren't enough for each other. He had his own ghosts, and I had mine. And in the midst of this mix, our love turned into a delicate dance where one false step could break everything. But still, we chose to keep trying, because what we felt was too strong to simply be left aside. It was a young love, full of hope, but also of limitations. A love that taught me more than any words, because in it I discovered the complexity of human feelings, the sweetness of a touch, the warmth of a look, but also the sadness of unplanned goodbyes and broken promises. Even in the most difficult moments, there was a tenderness that kept us together, as if our souls knew that this was an important chapter, even if it was not the end of the story. It was a slow learning process, a silent growth that happened between shy smiles and hidden tears. I wonder sometimes if he remembers me, if he holds in his memory the same moments that I carry in my heart. If on some silent night, he also thinks about what could have been, or if, like me, he has learned to accept that some stories don't have a perfect ending, but are still valuable. This first love was a gift and a challenge. It was proof that the heart can expand and hurt at the same time, that love is not always easy, but always true. It was the beginning of a journey that shaped me, that made me grow and understand that love, above all, is a school where you learn to be human. And even with all his imperfections, he was a light that illuminated my youth, a sweet melody that still resonates in my quietest thoughts. It was the first step towards the adult world, where I discovered that loving also means learning to let go, and that longing can be an invisible hug. As I write this letter to you, daughter, I know that this love, with its pains and joys, is part of what made me who I am, part of the story that I carry with me and that I now share with you, in the hope that, even in imperfections, love will always find a way to flourish. The news came on a quiet day, enveloped in an almost surreal calm, as if the world had slowed down to prepare me for what was to come. I was alone in my room when that subtle feeling, almost a premonition, became a certainty that transformed everything. Finding out I was pregnant was a silent shock, a complex mix of emotions that I couldn't immediately name. Fear, yes. A deep, unexpected fear that tightened my chest, as if the ground beneath my feet had disappeared for an instant. But along with that fear, there was a new, soft, tenacious love that was beginning to grow inside me, even before I understood what it meant. I had lived moments of intense youth, love and dreams, but nothing had prepared me for that truth. The life that pulsed within me was a mystery, a gift, or perhaps a challenge that required courage that I didn't know if I possessed. In the following nights, when the house was already silent and the world seemed suspended, I sat near the window, looking at the starry sky, seeking strength in the constellations. I wondered how to tell, how to face what was to come, how to protect that little being who was still just a promise. It was a secret kept in my silence, a hope that trembled like a candle flame in the wind. I felt the change within me, not just physical, but something deeper, an awakening of responsibility, of love that had not yet fully manifested itself, but that grew with every beat of my heart. At the same time, fear haunted my thoughts. What did the future hold? What would my life be like? Would I be able to be the mother the child deserved? These questions echoed in my mind, a silent and constant melody. I knew that pregnancy was not just mine, but also an invisible connection with you, my daughter that I had not yet met. A connection made of unspoken promises, of dreams suspended in time, and of a love that already existed even before your first cry. In that delicate mix of feelings, I began to understand the complexity of life, how it can be simultaneously frightening and beautiful, how fear can coexist with hope in the same space in the heart. I allowed myself to feel all of this without rushing, without pressure, because at that moment, the most important thing was to welcome that life that was forming and to try, with all the calm I could muster, to prepare a path of love and protection. I remember writing little notes to myself, gentle phrases to remind me to be strong, to be patient, to trust in time. Words that I didn't know if you would ever read, but that served as a mantra for the difficult days. Nature, which always taught me to accept cycles and transformations, was my refuge. Walking under the trees, listening to the wind, feeling the rain, All of this helped me breathe deeper, to find balance amidst the inner turmoil. I didn't know what the future held, but I already knew that you were a gift that deserved all my care, even if the path was uncertain and full of shadows. And so, between fears and loves, doubts and certainties, I began to build the bridge that would unite us, you and I, even if time did not allow us to cross completely. This unexpected pregnancy was the beginning of a story that I wanted to tell you, a story made of silent courage, of love hidden in simple gestures, and of a hope that never faded. Making the decision to give you up to another family was, without a doubt, the most difficult moment of my life, a silent moment, where my heart broke into 1,000 pieces, but where love shone brighter than any pain. It wasn't for lack of love that I chose this path. Quite the opposite. It was exactly because I loved you so much that I understood that, for you to have a full, protected, and happy life, I needed to give up my own desire to have you with me. Sometimes love manifests itself in surrender, in the act of letting go of what we desire most, so that the other person can grow, flourish, and be protected in a home where everything is possible. That was the reason for my choice, a silent gesture of hope, even in the midst of deep sadness. I knew it wouldn't be easy, that absence would leave an invisible mark on me, and perhaps on you too. But I also knew that the world was too vast for a single mother to provide everything a child deserves. It was a decision made on long nights, when the silence of the house seemed heavier, and tears were faithful companions. I wrote you not only love letters, but also requests for forgiveness for not being able to be by your side, for not being able to be what destiny had denied me. Even so, there was never abandonment. There was never a lack of love or care. There was, rather, a conscious surrender, an act of courage and silent love that, although invisible, never ceased to exist. I said goodbye to you before I even saw you, before I even heard your cry. And in that goodbye, my heart was divided. One part stayed with me, kept in silence, and the other went on its way, hoping that you would find a home where you could be loved and protected. The family that welcomed you was not a coincidence, but a careful choice. People who, I believed, could give you what I could not at that moment. An environment of affection, security, and possibilities that I dreamed of for you. The decision was a battle between fear and faith. Fear of the unknown, of what would come next, of consequences that I could not foresee. But faith in life, in the love that transcends physical presence, in the hope that our souls would one day meet somehow. This choice taught me about the weight of responsibility and the strength that exists in loving even from a distance. About how love can be an invisible bridge that connects hearts separated by time and distance. I know this story is difficult to understand, perhaps even painful, but I want you to know that in every word I write, there is a truth that will never be erased. My love for you. Even though I was far away, even though I couldn't hold you in my arms, I loved you with all the intensity that my being could bear. And I loved the life you deserved, even though I couldn't be the one to live it with. You. Giving you up was an act of courage, an act of silent and profound love. An act that, despite the shadows, I carry like a hidden treasure deep in my heart. And even though time has separated us, even though destiny has been cruel in keeping us apart, I have never stopped wishing you the purest happiness, the deepest peace, and the truest love. So, my dear, if you ever feel that something is missing, remember, love is not measured by proximity, but by the intensity of the feeling that remains, even in absence. And I will always be here, in every word, in every silence, in every breath, of wind that touches your face. Because love, when it is true, is never lost, it simply transforms and continues to live within us. Sometimes, when silence takes over the night, it's as if my heart searches for you in the shadows of my thoughts. And that's when my imagination begins to paint your face, to sculpt your gestures, to hear the music that would be your laughter. I close my eyes, and in the darkness of my room, I begin to see you. Not clearly, like an exact photograph, but like a picture made of feelings and desires, of small details that, even though I don't know for sure, I feel you would have. I imagine your eyes perhaps large, curious, with that sparkle that only a genuinely alive soul carries. They would be the mirrors of your essence, a silent invitation for those who know how to hear what is not said in words. I wonder if your eyes would be the color of the forest that I loved so much in my childhood, or perhaps a deep blue, like the sky on clear, clear days. I think about what your laugh would be like. A soft laugh, perhaps shy, that would gradually become a contagious melody, capable of brightening the grayest days. A laugh that would preserve the purity of childhood and the strength of hope. I imagine you laughing while you play, while you discover the world, while you find joy in the simple things, just like I did. I find myself imagining your gestures, the way you would fix your hair, the way your fingers would touch the leaves of the trees, the way you would lean against things, the way you would express yourself without words. I imagine your embrace, warm and comforting, a hug I have always dreamed of giving. These images, even though they are made of dreams and memories, help me keep you alive inside me. They are like little lanterns lit in the darkness, illuminating the path of absence with the light of hope. But along with this imagination comes melancholy, because no matter how much I dream, I know that these images are made of a what-if that never became reality, and that the distance between us is not only physical, but made of lost moments that time will never recover. I wonder if you think about me, if you have ever tried to imagine who I am, what I am like, if you have ever looked up at the sky and felt an invisible affection that came from someone who loved you without ever having seen you. Sometimes these questions keep me company on long nights, when loneliness speaks loudly and tears run silently down my face. But soon after, a strength emerges within me, the certainty that even if fate has separated us, the bond between mother and daughter is indestructible, made of love that transcends time. So I let my imagination flow, like a calm river that carries my memories and hopes to a place where we can meet, even if only in our dreams. I dream of the day when you will understand that every word I write, every letter I send into the void is an invisible hook, a bridge made of feelings that no distance can break. And as you listen to this story, daughter, I want you to feel the warmth of this love that, even silent and distant, is always present, as real as the gentle breeze that touches your face on a calm afternoon. Because, in the end, imagining you is the way I found to never stop loving you, even if only in the silence of the nights, in the softness of my thoughts, and in the tenderness of the dreams I cultivate for you. The nights, though silent and full of shadows, bring with them a refuge where distance disappears and time seems to fold. In my dreams, I find you in a meadow, a place where peace and nature intertwine in a gentle embrace. This meadow is a scene that repeats itself with tenderness, a magical space where everything seems lighter, purer. It is an open field where the grass dances to the rhythm of the wind, and wildflowers spread delicate colors across the ground. The sky above is vast and serene, with clouds that slide slowly, as if time itself had slowed down to allow us this encounter. In your dreams, you are there running free, with your hair blowing in the wind, smiling without haste, without fear. Your steps are light, as if you were floating, and your eyes are bright, full of that sweet curiosity that only a child can have. I watch you from afar, feeling a mixture of joy and longing that tightens my chest. I want to run to you, hug you, feel the warmth of your body close to mine. But sometimes dreams hold a delicate silence, a sacred space where we can only exist side by side, without rushing, without words. The meadow is a place of calm, where the noise of the world disappears, and only the soft sound of the wind among the leaves and the distant song of birds remain. It is a sanctuary where I can imagine you free, protected, and happy, even if only in my dreams. Some nights, you come over and sit next to me, taking my hand with the simple confidence of someone who knows that, despite everything, we are connected by an invisible thread, strong and delicate. At those times, I feel your presence so real that I can almost touch it. I can almost feel the warmth of your embrace. We speak without words because our hearts already understand everything we need to say. It is a dialogue made of feelings, where love speaks louder than any silence. But even in these moments of encounter, there is a silent melancholy, because I know that these dreams are fleeting, that when the sun rises, the meadow will disappear, and with it, the feeling of being so close to you. Yet they are my comfort, my safe haven amidst the loneliness that accompanies absence. And each time I wake up to the image of their smile shining in that field, I feel renewed hope, the hope that, even though we are apart, one day our paths might truly cross. These dreams are also a way of preparing myself for what never came, for what destiny did not allow me to experience fully. They are like silent letters written by the soul, where I leave a record of all the love and longing I feel. And as you listen to this story, my daughter, I want you to know that even if our encounters are only in dreams for now, they are real to me. because the love that unites us is stronger than time, deeper than any distance. And so, night after night, I return to that meadow, my sacred place where you exist, where our hearts beat in harmony, and where love never fades. There are dates that arrive silently, loaded with memories that never happened, but that hurt as if they were open wounds in the heart. These are moments that time cannot erase, even if I was never there to experience them by your side. Your birthday, that day that should be a day of celebration, laughter, and light, is a date that fills me with a mixture of sadness and hope. I imagine the scene: colorful balloons, lit candles, the sound of people celebrating you, and I far away, with absence as heavy as a cloak, wishing I was there to hold your hand, to sing the happy birthday song, to see your smile illuminated. I miss the details I never got to witness. The way you would blow out the candles, the surprise on your face when you opened a present, the genuine joy of being celebrated. But these scenes live only in my imagination, in a silent movie that I watch every time the date arrives. Christmas, with its lights and promises, is another of those dates loaded with complex feelings. I would have liked to have seen your eyes shining before the illuminated tree, to have shared stories and dreams around the table, to have felt the warmth of your embrace on that cold night. But instead, Christmas is for me a time of solitary reflection, where longing grows stronger and loneliness becomes more present. I light a candle in your memory, imagining that somewhere you feel the same warmth of love that I send in the form of silent thoughts and wishes. And the first days of school. Oh, those are moments that break me in a way that is almost impossible to explain. I was never there to see you walk through that door, insecure and curious, ready to discover the world of letters, numbers, friendships, and challenges. I imagine your backpack on your back, your hesitant and then confident steps, the sparkle in your eyes as you make new friends, the enthusiasm mixed with the fear of the unknown. These are scenes that my mind paints with tenderness and a longing that cuts deep. I wish I could be the mother who held your hand in those early days, who wiped your tears, who celebrated every little achievement. But life took a different path. And all I can do is hold on to those memories that were never real, but that live in my heart. Each of these dates is a reminder of the distance that exists between us, but also of the love that remains intact even in absence. These are moments that hurt, yes, but they also strengthen the hope of a reunion, of a hug that heals all wounds. I celebrate you in silence, my daughter, in the little things of everyday life, in the smiles I save for you, in the letters I write with an open heart. And I know that, somehow, our bond transcends time and space. I know that you may not understand. Now the depth of this silent love, of this longing that accompanies me on every important date. But I want you to know that, even though I'm far away, I'm always here, cheering for you, rooting for your happiness, dreaming of the day when we can share these dates together. Until then, I treasure every birthday, every Christmas, every first day of school, in the hope that they can one day be truly lived, with laughter, hugs, and endless love. Because, my daughter, a mother's love is not measured by the time shared, but by the intensity of the feeling that remains, even in absences. At the back of the old wardrobe, behind clothes that I no longer wear and memories that time has tried to erase, there is a box. It is made of dark wood, worn at the edges, with marks of time like silent scars. There is no lock, no labels, just a faded blue ribbon that holds it closed as if it were something sacred. Inside this box live my most sincere words. Letters, many of them, written over the years with an almost ritualistic calm, always in the early hours of the morning when the world sleeps and the silence allows my soul to speak without haste. Each letter is a piece of me that I left on paper, hoping that somehow you could feel it even if you never read any of them. They are pages yellowed by time, some with folded edges, others with small stains from old tears that have dried without leaving salt, but not without leaving a mark. Among the letters, I kept dried petals flowers that I picked at times when I felt your presence by my side, even when you weren't there. Flowers from the kindergarten I lived in, or from the solitary walks I took through the fields, where I imagined you running ahead of me, smiling free. Each petal is a gentle reminder that even when there were no words, there was beauty. Even in pain, there was a gesture of tenderness. I wrote these letters at different stages of my life. Some began with, "My daughter, today I dreamed of you again." Others with, "I miss you, even though I've never really met you." In all of them, there's a tone of come love, the kind that doesn't demand anything in return. That just exists because it does, because loving you is part of who I am. Many times, when the weight of longing became too great to carry alone, I would sit at the wooden table with a cup of tea beside me and the rain beating lightly on the window, and I would write, with a blue ink pen, words that came out slowly, as if they were being dictated by my own heart. I never intended to send them. Or maybe I did one day. Maybe I hoped that one day you would come back or look for me, and I could put them all in your hands, saying, even though I was far away, I was here. I always was, but time moved on. The box remained there. Letters piled up. And today they are part of a ritual that is just mine, a silent reliquary that holds the story we did not live, but that I wrote with great care, like someone embroidering a memory in the void. Sometimes I open the box and reread some of these letters. Some days I smile, other days I cry, but most of all, I feel peace, because I know that even without you around, I have managed to transform the love I feel into something beautiful, something that survives time and absences. The box is small, but it carries the weight of what never happened. It is heavy with feelings, possibilities, and unrealized gestures. And at the same time, it is light because inside is everything that kept me alive when longing seemed to consume me. Some letters are short, just a paragraph written on tired nights. Others are long, pages and pages of outbursts, memories and dreams. But they all talk about you. And even if I never read them, even if these words are kept forever between petals. And silence, they exist. And because they exist, you also exist inside me in each line, in each pause, in each longing disguised as poetry. If one day this box is opened by other hands, perhaps by yours, who knows, may you feel the gentle truth of each letter. May you understand that this love, although never lived in the traditional way, was whole, and it is eternal. For now, she remains there, hidden but alive. A time capsule made of paper, the scent of dried flowers, and feelings that never needed an answer to make sense. And every night, when I close my eyes, I know that even though I haven't written to you every day, you've always been the reason. Behind every word written, she is still there today, sitting delicately on one of the highest shelves in my closet. A little corner, almost hidden, silent, as if time had stopped around her. The doll, with brown glass eyes, braided wool hair, and a flowered cotton dress. A blue bound in her hair, small, delicate, a doll bought with hope and kept with longing. I clearly remember the day I saw her for the first time. It was a gray autumn afternoon. The leaves had already begun to fall, covering the sidewalks like small golden carpets. I walked aimlessly, dragging my thoughts as if looking for something to hold on to. And it was in the window of a simple store, hidden between old buildings, that she looked back at me. There was something about that doll that made me stop. Maybe it was the sweetness of his stitched face, or the way he seemed to be waiting for someone. There was a gentle peace about her, a stillness so familiar. It was as if he knew as if he missed someone too. I entered the store, guided by a calm intuition. I didn't hesitate. I chose the doll as if I were choosing a gift for someone. I already knew, even though I had never touched her, she would be yours. One day, when our paths finally met, I would give you this little companion. She would be your first friend, your first soft embrace. I took it home carefully, like someone carrying a secret. I wrapped it in white tissue paper and put it inside a box with little blue drawings like the ones in the sky in my dreams about you. I placed the box on top of the closet, where time seems to move slowly, almost imperceptibly. And there she stayed. Days passed. Years passed too. There were times when I would stand on a chair, open the box, and look at her. And for a moment, the world would stop. I would hold the doll lovingly, imagining her little hands touching hers, hearing her imaginary voice saying a name she would give her. Maybe Luna or Clara, or some name she would invent on her own when she was first able to speak. But reality always came back, and with it, the silent certainty that that present was waiting for a destiny that might never come. There were times when I thought about giving her away, about letting her go her own way, finding another child who could love her. But every time that thought came up, something inside me recoiled. This wasn't just a doll. It was a promise, an extension of the love I hold for you, a part of my waiting. She was never forgotten, even in the midst of noisy days. tiring routines and heavy silences. Its gentle presence, even kept in tissue paper, was a constant reminder of everything that was dreamed of but never lived. Of all the hugs we didn't give, the laughs that didn't happen, the stories we didn't tell together. The doll has become a guardian of time. Of the time that passes and the time I wait for. A silent guardian of everything I still hold in my heart. She represents everything I prepared with love, even without knowing if it would ever be delivered. Sometimes during rainy nights, when the wind blows gently through the cracks in the house, I imagine you finding this doll, already grown up perhaps, opening the box with hands already shaped by life, but with your heart still open to the forgotten tenderness of childhood. I imagine your eyes lighting up as you hold her, and deep down in your soul, something whispering, you have always been. Loved, this doll may never reach you. It may remain here, kept among memories and hopes. But the truth is that it has already fulfilled its role. It was a witness to a love that has withstood the test of time, even without its presence. A love made of details, blue bows, delicate stitching, and silences that say more than 1,000 words. And if one day I leave before delivering this gift, may someone find it. May they see in it not just an old toy, but a symbol, a quiet but immense gesture, a love that has not faded, because even though you've never held that doll, it's always been yours. There is a type of silence that does not scream, that does not weigh on the chest like a stone sinking into the sea. It's a silence that just exists, like the distant sound of an old clock ticking away in a sleeping house. This is how regret lives inside me, soft, discreet, present. It is not a desperate lament. There are no screams, no races against time. Just a constant echo, like a memory that never left. A silent regret, but full of humanity. I often wonder, would it have been different if I had chosen differently? If I had faced fear, conventions, or simply trusted myself more? These are questions that are repeated, not with sharp pain, but with a touch of a sad breeze, the kind that passes between the curtains of an empty house. Life, my daughter, is made of choices, and some, even when made with love, leave marks. That whisper for years. I chose silence. I chose distance. Maybe because at that time I didn't know I was strong enough. Or maybe because the world convinced me that you would be better off without me. This is the regret I carry, not for not having loved you, but for not having been by your side. For not having held your hand when you first took your first steps, or for not having wiped your tears when the world seemed too big. But don't think, not even for a moment, that this regret is cruel. No, it's like an old song that plays in the background from time to time, making my eyes get lost for a few seconds in the window, watching the sky change color at dusk. A feeling that walks with me, but doesn't consume me. It is possible to regret with sweetness, with acceptance, with tenderness. That is what I have learned over the years. that we can look back with teary eyes, but still smile with gratitude that we felt so much. Yes, I would have done things differently. I would have looked for you. I would have written fewer letters and spoken more words. I would have risked the chance to meet you again. I would have faced judgment, fear, the unknown, all to have you close. But at that time, my courage was still small, and my heart, although full of love, was shrunken by the scars of the past. Today, I understand that I did the best I could with the woman I was. I'm not proud of it, but I don't punish myself either, because the love I felt for you never stopped existing. It just found different ways to live, in handwritten words, in silent dreams, in promises hidden among dried petals and store dolls. Sometimes I find myself whispering your name or the name I imagined for you. I speak softly, as if apologizing not with guilt, but with affection. Because, more than anything, what I wanted was for you to be happy, wherever you were. And if, by chance you also felt, at some point in your life, a subtle emptiness, a nameless absence, maybe it was my longing trying to reach you. I don't expect forgiveness, nor do I find solace in excuses. I just hope that, somehow, you know that. There hasn't been a single day that I haven't thought of you. That this regret, although serene, is real. But that it comes with love. Lots of love. Life doesn't always allow us to go back, but it teaches us to live with what was and what could have been. And that's where peace lies. Not in forgetting, but in understanding. Not in erasing, but in embracing. This story that we never lived together. It is still beautiful, because even though it is incomplete, it has feeling. It has poetry. It has truth. Today, when the day ends and the house is filled with that silence that only night brings, I close my eyes and let regret visit me. He sits next to me quietly, and together we look at the past like someone revisiting an album of memories that never existed on paper, but that were kept so carefully in our hearts. Perhaps this is the greatest sign of love, continuing to feel even when there is nothing left to do. And in this silence, my daughter, know that I embrace you every day, even if you don't know it, even if you've never seen me. Regret lives here. Yes, but he walks slowly and learned not to hurt, just remembering fondly what could have been. It's strange, my daughter. How is it possible to love someone so much that you never got to see grow, touch, hear, or protect? And yet, this love remains here, intact like a garden that I insist on tending even without knowing if the seeds have germinated. Sometimes, when night falls slowly and the sounds of the house retreat into their natural silence, I find myself looking out the window at the distant lights of other houses, other homes. And I wonder, could one of those windows have belonged to you? Did someone hold you when you first cried? Were there firm, tender arms that rocked you to sleep, as I have wished to do so many times in my thoughts? The answer I will never know. but there is a part of me the most intimate, perhaps the most stubborn, that believes so, that you were loved. I like to imagine that there was a woman, perhaps with warm hands and a serene gaze, who knew how to welcome you, who realized, even without knowing the whole story, that you carried a special delicacy, and who decided to protect you. Someone who, when looking at you, understood that you needed more than physical shelter. You needed presence, affection, time. Maybe she called you daughter, or maybe she used another name, but with the same warmth. Maybe she told you bedtime stories, tied your hair before school, or waited for you on cold mornings with hot chocolate. I imagine these scenes as if I were putting together a puzzle of memories that I have never seen, but that belong to me in some way. Because my hope is made of this, small fragments of faith that are sewn together with silence and tenderness. I choose to believe that you are not alone, that, even without me, the world was kind to you in some way. Maybe you ran through open fields, laughed out loud with your friends as a teenager, felt your heart beat faster for your first love. Maybe you listened to songs that spoke for you, wrote diaries hidden under your pillow, and learned to live with courage. This comforts me to imagine that, even though you are far from me, you live surrounded by affection, that you grew up being seen, heard, and respected. Sometimes I write your name or what I imagined it to be on loose pieces of paper, just to see how it would look handwritten, as if I were to call it out loud one day. And along with it, I write prayers without an address, like bottles thrown into the sea. Simple requests that you were held, that no one broke your heart too soon, that you met someone who called you home. It's strange, I know, hoping for the best without being sure of anything. But this is the way I found to love you lightly, without bitterness, without weight, just hope. I never allowed myself to believe that life had been cruel to you. I couldn't bear that. So I planted a silent certainty within myself that the universe, in some way that only it understands, surrounded you with good souls, that you didn't lack outstretched hands or sincere smiles. Even from a distance, I rooted for you every day, and I still do, because motherhood, even when interrupted, never ends. It continues in small gestures, in invisible intentions, in the love that persists in existing even in absence. My daughter, if you ever felt an inexplicable warmth in your chest at any moment, while looking at the sky or listening to a song, perhaps it was this, my hope trying to reach you. I never knew where to write these letters. I never had an address, an official name, or even a photograph. But in every word I poured into these pages, there was this deep desire that you were being cared for, that you would not lack affection, that life, even with its curves and silences, would be good to you. I may never know if my hope came true, but that's okay, because the mere fact that I kept it alive already consoles me. It's what gives me the strength to keep writing, even if the pages are never read. She is the one who calms my heart on the nights when longing hits me the hardest. She is the one who reminds me that love, even from a distance, can still wish good. It can still root for the happiness of those who have never been held in their arms. And so I go on day after day, taking care of your memory as one would take care of a delicate flame, calmly, with silence, with faith. My hope doesn't need guarantees. It just needs to continue to exist. And it exists because of you. Sometimes I sit in silence and close my eyes, imagining a scene that never happened. You, as an adult, finding a letter from me by chance, carefully folded, tucked between the pages of an old book, or perhaps left in a forgotten box in someone's attic. Your hands touch the paper hesitantly, your eyes skimming over the words, as if you suddenly sensed that something important was there all along. This thought visits me often, not out of vanity or a desire for recognition, but for a single and simple desire to have been remembered, that in some corner of your heart it existed, even if as a question, even if as an echo. It doesn't make me sad that I wasn't part of your life in the conventional way. What really breaks my heart is imagining that you may never have known about my love, that you walked through this world believing that you were forgotten by the one who gave you life. If only you knew, if only you could feel, even for a second, that somewhere distant, silent, but constant, there was someone who thought of you every night. I don't expect you to have dreamed about me or imagined my voice, but I hope, with all the delicacy of my being, that one day you felt a subtle presence, an inexplicable warmth in your chest, a good feeling, and that without understanding why. You smiled slightly, as if you knew you were loved, even without knowing where that love came from. My daughter, this desire to be remembered is not born of regret, but of tenderness. It is the gentle desire that my love was not in vain, that it somehow found its way to you, in dreams, in signs, in small moments that pass almost unnoticed. I wish you had felt, at least once, that someone was sending you affection without a name, but with a direction. That when you looked up at the sky on a particularly starry night, your heart had beaten differently, and that, even without understanding, something inside you had said, someone loves me, someone thinks of me. Maybe you have had moments of emptiness, unanswered questions, unexplained silences. And my deepest wish is that, in those moments, something inside you whispered that you were not alone, that there was a silent love, distant but eternal. I would have wanted to be part of your memories, even if they were small. A voice in the back of your mind, a scent without origin, an imagined hug on sad days, not to fill the voids, but to soften them, so that you would never feel forgotten. Sometimes I think that if the letters I wrote had reached you, perhaps they would not have changed your story, but they could have warmed up some cold night. They could have been company in times when everything seemed uncertain. They would have said with each line, you were, are, and always will be loved love doesn't need to be seen to be real. It can exist in thoughts, in gestures that never come to fruition, in words written by candlelight and kept for decades. But how I wish you could have felt this love, that it could have become part of your foundation, your strength, and if, by chance, you felt forgotten, if at some point in your life abandonment knocked on the door of your heart, I want you to know it was never true. You were remembered every day, in every cup of tea I drank alone, and every night I lay down and stared at the dark ceiling, imagining your face, in every candle lit in winter while the wind whistled outside. You remembered on dates that no one knew, the day you learned to walk, the birthday that I calculated by myself. You remembered in every doll I saw in the shop windows, in every child's dress that made me stop for one more second in the middle of the street. My daughter, you were remembered with affection, with longing, with a kind of love that does not require presence, but lives on hope. Today, I write this with the serenity of someone who has learned to accept the paths that life has laid out, even if they have been painful. But I still carry this simple wish that you, at some point, have felt something. A breeze, a light thought, a gentle intuition, and that this was me. If only I knew I was loved, even from afar, even in silence, even in the time that has passed, even now, as these words are written, and you may already have your own children, your own life, your own world. I'm still here, still writing, still remembering, still loving you. And maybe, just maybe, it will come to you one day. If there were one word I could offer you before this letter ends, before time takes with it everything we were unable to live, it would be forgiveness. Not a pleading forgiveness of those who've been before pain, nor a tragic forgiveness of those who carry too much weight, but a calm forgiveness, a serene gesture made only of love. I don't know at what point in your life, if it ever reached you, this absence became present. I don't know if it caused you confusion, pain, or if you simply moved on with an emptiness that you didn't even know where it came from. But from where I am, what I can offer now is the most sincere form of calm repentance, the one that doesn't scream, that doesn't despair, but that rests silently deep in your chest. Forgive me for not being there, for not having been the arms that welcomed you in your first cries, for not holding your hand when crossing the street, for not telling you bedtime stories. Forgive me for not being the one who taught you how to braid your hair, how to tie your shoelaces, how to understand the world, for not being the one who held your forehead when you had a fever, or who applauded your small achievements, but which to me would have been immense. Forgive me for all the Christmases where my present didn't arrive, for all the birthdays my name wasn't mentioned, for all the questions you had and I couldn't answer. There are no perfect justifications, and maybe at that point, they're not even needed anymore. What there is the real intention, simple and without embellishments, of saying, forgive me. Not because I am a victim, not because I was weak, but because I am human, and because I made mistakes. In my youth, my steps were disordered. There was more fear than courage in me, more questions than answers. And among so many uncertainties, I lost what mattered most to me, you. But my love for you is never uncertain. It was never small. It was never fleeting. And it is for this love that I ask for your forgiveness. A forgiveness that does not ask for repayment, that does not demand presence, that does not demand a response. Forgive me for being a memory erased before it even became a memory, for being just an idea, a name without a face, an echo in silent nights. If I could go back, maybe I would do it differently. But time is a road that only moves forward, and I, with my heart aged by the weight of longing, learned not to fight it. I learned to accept that not all love needs a stage. Not all bonds need physical presence to be real. Therefore, my daughter, I leave here not only a request for forgiveness, but a gift of love. You are free to feel whatever you want to. Think of me, whatever is true to you. I do not want to impose anything, nor shape your vision. I just want to make it clear, in no uncertain terms, and with all the tenderness that still lives within me, what existed between us, even if only within me, was love. And this love demands nothing from you. It doesn't expect recognition. It doesn't ask for answers. It just is. It is love that led me to write so many letters without a destination. That made me keep a doll for years as a symbol of what could have been. It is love that makes me light a candle in your name every time the sky darkens. And it is this same love that makes me ask for forgiveness, not to clear my conscience, but to honor its existence. If ever, somewhere in your heart, there remained any doubt about how much you were loved, allow this letter to dissolve it. You were loved. You were loved, even from afar, even in silence, even now. And if this absence hurt you even a little, even for a brief moment, I ask that, from wherever you are, you grant me this gentle forgiveness, not for me, but for yourself, so that this bond, even invisible, can be woven lightly. I don't know if you ever thought about me, if you missed me, but every time I thought of you, and there were so many I did so with calm love, with teary eyes and empty hands. Now, as I write this letter, I do not expect it to be read, but I wish from the bottom of my heart that the feeling contained in it FLIs to you, crossing time, space, silence, and longing. Forgive me, and know I never stopped loving you. 20 time is a river that flows without rest. It takes with it the days that do not return, the seasons that have passed, the silences that were not broken. And I stood on the banks of this river for many years, watching the waters carry away everything that I was unable to live by your side. Today, with my hair silvered by time and my eyes more serene, I can finally recognize time was wasted. I missed the sound of your first laugh. I missed the chance to hear your voice call me, even just once, Mother. I missed the birthdays, the stumbles and the achievements, the hidden cries and the spontaneous smiles. I missed the little things. And at the same time, I missed the whole world that existed within you. None of this escapes me now. I see how. Much escaped me before. It's true, time doesn't come back. There's no way to get back the days we're left behind like leaves blown away by the wind. But there's something that time hasn't taken away. There's something that time, with all its haste and passing, hasn't been able to erase. Love. Because even though time has been lost, love remains. And more than that, he grew up, silently, like trees grow in forgotten forests. Strong, like roots that withstand the longest winters. You never knew how much you inhabited my thoughts. But I knew. I knew that among everything I lost, what kept me alive was this love that never forgot you. It was love when I looked out the window and imagined you running across a field. It was love when I saw a girl with her features and my heart sank without explanation. It was love every time I wrote a letter and kept it. It was love even in the silence, even in absence. And it still is. Time is gone, my daughter. I let it slip through my fingers, between the decisions I made, between the pains that paralyzed me. But my love for you, it knows no clocks. It never needed calendars. It just existed and still exists. There is a sadness in it, yes, but it is a quiet sadness. A sadness without anger, without revolt. It's like looking at an old photograph of something you never experienced and yet feeling an inexplicable tenderness. I don't know where you are now. Maybe you went on with your life without ever thinking about me. Maybe at some point you asked questions that no one answered. Maybe you created your own family, your own story. And somewhere along the way, you felt something was missing or you didn't feel anything. Was missing. Whatever your path has been, it is yours. And mine, even full of absences, always had you as its center, even from a distance. I'm not here to try to make up for time. It cannot be bought, nor exchanged, nor rewritten. I'm just here to admit, I wasted time, yes, a lot. Time that does not return. Moments I didn't have. Gestures that remained only in thought. But I didn't lose love. This one didn't get lost for even a second. He accompanied me like a constant breeze. It was with me every autumn, on every birthday of yours that I told in secret. Every night I whispered your name without anyone hearing. Love has withstood time, and even now, as life moves towards its final chapters, he is still here, firm, calm, faithful. If you ever hear this, or if, by some magic of fate, these words reach you, let it not be as a burden, but as a comfort. May you feel, in the deepest part of your being, that although I have lost time, I have never stopped loving you. There is no going back, but there is a way to let love go on and may he follow you. Light, silent, like a caress that time has not been able to erase. Today, when I woke up, I felt a gentle memory knocking on the door of my chest. One of those that doesn't hurt, just warms. An old memory, almost whispered by time, but that still beats alive inside me. I remembered you, very little. Still inside me, there are things that time tries to erase. But there are memories that endure not because they are great or spectacular, but because they are made of genuine love. My memories of you in those months when we were one person are like this. Small, discreet, but eternal. I remember the first time I heard your heartbeat. We were in a simple office with beige walls and the smell of new paper. The doctor passed. That cold device over my belly. And then there, with a sudden snap, the sound appeared. Fast, rhythmic, like a hurried dance of birds in a distant field. Your heart. At that moment, everything inside me became quiet. The world outside continued with its noises, its rush, and its gray days. But inside that room, inside me, there was a new universe beginning, and it had a sound. Its sound I kept. That sound like someone keeping a precious secret. I walked home in silence, with my hands on my stomach and a small smile. It was like I was carrying a song that no one else could hear. But only I, knew it by heart. The months went by, and with them came the signs. I remember the first movement, a soft touch like a feather brushing against the inside, a whisper of your presence. It was night, and I was lying down, reading a random book, and then there I felt it, a timid little push, as if you were saying, "Hey, I'm here." I stood still, barely breathing, afraid that the moment would slip away. I touched my belly with my fingertips as if I wanted to answer. I know. I feel you from then on. The movements became part of my routine. Every kick, every spin, every stretch was like a secret note between the two of us. A code that only we understood. Sometimes you would get excited by calm music. Others seemed to rest when I cried softly. It was as if, even though you were so small, you knew. If only I knew when I needed company. And somehow you gave it to me. There was one afternoon in particular that I never forgot. She was sitting in the sun on a wooden bench near an old oak tree. The light filtered through the leaves, and the wind carried the sweet smell of damp earth. There, with my face warmed by the light and my belly in my hands, I felt you move differently, stronger, more alive. It was at that moment that I realized you weren't just an idea. You were real, present. You were life inside mine. And despite all the fears, the doubts, the silent pains, I was happy. Yes, for a brief moment, I was completely happy. These moments, the sound of your heart, the first kicks, the warmth of the sun on my skin as you move, are all I have that's concrete between us. There are no photographs. There are no clothes stored. There is no crib, no souvenirs. But there are these memories, simple, delicate, but deep as ancient roots. And although time has taken me to 1,000 different places, although choices and circumstances have taken me away from you, the love I felt in those moments has never been lost. He is like a breeze that still runs through the corners of my memory, a song that only I can sing, a silent promise that for a few moments in life we were together completely. Today, when I close my eyes, I can hear again that hurried sound, that tum-tum-tum that made me cry in silence, hidden from everyone. I can feel the little pushes in my belly, as if my body is dancing in secret. I can see myself smiling alone, walking down the street and talking to you in my thoughts. These little memories are all I have, but they are more than enough to know you existed in me, and somehow it still exists. I don't need more than that to keep loving you. Today, after many years, I opened one of the oldest drawers in my room, the dark wooden one with the lock that already creaks and the key that barely turns anymore. Inside, among the aged envelopes and small pieces of paper that carry old feelings, I found something that belongs to you and always has. It's a necklace. Simple, delicate, a thin silver chain, a little dull with age, and a small pendant shaped like a leaf. There is nothing valuable about it to the world, but to me, it carries the weight of everything I didn't experience with you. I bought this necklace one afternoon at a little market near the Central Market. I remember the moment my eyes fell on him. It wasn't a planned purchase. It was more like a calling. The shape of the leaf reminded me of life, renewal, delicacy, and I immediately thought of you. You were still in me, growing silent. I felt fragile and strong at the same time, like that necklace. I didn't think twice. I bought it, kept it in a small wine-colored velvet box, and took it home. That night, I spent hours holding the little box in my hands, sitting on the edge of the bed, imagining the moment when, one day, I would put that necklace around her neck, maybe on your 15th birthday, or the day you cried for love for the first time, or at a time when you just needed to know you were protected. But that moment never came, and the necklace stayed here, not exposed, not forgotten, but guarded with the reverence of an intimate and invisible altar. Whenever my fingers touched that drawer, I felt his presence. It was as if, even without having heard your voice, without having seen your face, you were close. But in small objects that resist time, the necklace became an inheritance, not because of its antiquity, not because of its material value, but because it is a symbol of what I planned, of what I desired, of the silent love I carried with me even when the world seemed to tell me to forget. You know, for a long time I was afraid to look at him. There was something painful and touching that which was not delivered. It was like bumping into a version of myself that was suspended in time, that woman who still dreamed. still believed that everything could work out. That woman who talked to her daughter inside her belly, as if she were already there, sitting on the living room rug. But today was different. Today, I opened the drawer without pain, carefully, with a new serenity that perhaps only the years will bring. I held the necklace between my fingers and noticed that it still shines. A little, even after being forgotten for so long. Just like the love I feel for you. It didn't go out. It didn't even get dark. It just stood there, waiting for time to pass, like silver that rests and yet shines. Sometimes I think that if one day our paths cross not by chance, but by a stroke of fate, maybe I can finally put the necklace on you. Perhaps your hands will welcome him with the lightness of someone who carries no resentment. Perhaps your eyes meet mine with questions, but also with a strange familiarity. And maybe even without many words, you understand. Understand that he was always waiting for you, just like me. And if this meeting never happens, if these words are just wind, whispered between pages of letters never sent, still the necklace will remain as an inheritance, as a promise, as a reminder that you existed, that she was loved. Even if in silence, I have stored the necklace in a new box now, firmer, lined with light linen. Next to it, I placed a handwritten label for her, when or if she wants, because true love does not impose. He waits. He remains. And I remain, here, remembering the sound of your heart, the first kicks inside me, and this little necklace silent witness to a love that never needed to be said out loud to be real. There's something I never told you, maybe because I never had the opportunity, or maybe because, deep down, I always hoped that the universe would find a way to whisper this memory to your heart, even from a distance. It's about a name, a simple sound, almost like the wind passing through the leaves, Elena. That was the name I wanted to give you, not because I heard it in some movie or because it was trendy. It wasn't the name of any famous actress, nor of any family ancestor. It was just the name that came up like a gentle breeze in the late afternoon. Since the beginning of the pregnancy, whenever I thought of you, my mind called out that name, as if you had already chosen it yourself, long before me. Elena. Elena had music. I had a breather. It was sweet. In my imagination, that's what I called you in my thoughts. Good evening, Elena. Will Elena like music? Today, Elena kicked hard. And even without having you in my arms, even without hearing your voice, I said that name in silence. He spoke to the wind, for the fine rain that fell on the roof, for the dried petals that I kept in envelopes, and sometimes to the mirror as if trying to materialize you there on the other side, just with the power of the word. There was an infinite sweetness in the simple act of whispering, Elena. It brought me peace. It gave me purpose on days when the world felt too cold. I remember one morning in particular. I had woken up early with one of those good dreams that evaporate as soon as we open our eyes. The kettle was already starting to sing in the kitchen. I sat at the table with a cup of chamomile tea, and right there, amidst the steam and the soft light coming through the window, I wrote her name several times on a napkin. Elena, 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 as if it were a prayer, as if somehow writing your name could protect you wherever you were, in the valley, in time, or in the world. But fate did not allow me to register that name. I know you might have another one today, a name chosen by other hands, by other arms that welcomed you, and I deeply respect that. It's the name they gave you, the name that rocked you, that answered your first cries, that accompanied you in your first steps. That name is part of your story, and I would never take it from you. Never. Not even in thought. But in my heart, you will always be Elena, not by renaming you, but for recognizing what lived within me before everything. Elena was the daughter I imagined when anything was still possible. It was the sound I heard in my dreams. It was the presence that accompanied me when the world slept. She was the daughter I loved, even though I had never called her that out loud. And sometimes I wonder, have you ever felt attracted to this name at some point in your life? Have you ever read Elena in a book and felt something different? Have you ever heard someone calling you that name on the street and turned away without knowing why? Maybe it's just my wish, but I like to think that somehow the name found you. Perhaps like a distant echo, maybe like a whisper lost in the leaves, or in a dream that repeats itself and that you never understand. You know, daughter, it doesn't matter what name you carry on paper. The love I feel is not tied to syllables. It's between the lines, in the silence between the words, in the space between the stored letters. I learned that true love doesn't require presence. It does not require a title or recognition. He just is. And the name I would give you is just a way of saying that, even in your absence, you had a place. You had a name. You were wanted. Elena, my wind girl, of time, of letters never delivered. The sound of that name still lives here, floating in the hallways of the house, between the pages of the diaries I wrote in the dried petals I keep. And even if you never use it, it will always be a part of you. Because, first of all, he was part of me. Sometimes, when night falls and silence dominates everything around me, I go out onto the porch of the house. The air is fresh, light, and the stars begin to appear timidly in the vast, dark sky. I stand there, motionless, looking up, trying to decipher the immensity that surrounds us. It's as if the sky were a thin, transparent veil that connects distant hearts. I wonder, could it be that somewhere you are also looking at these same stars? Do your eyes, this moment, rise to infinity just like mine? There is something magical about thinking that no matter where you are, no matter what you do, heaven is the same for us. The same moon, the same constellations that seem to watch over us with their ancient, silent light. On these nights, I feel that our worlds, however distant they may be, meet in the firmament, and that you, even from afar, can feel my silent gaze resting on you. The wind whispers through the leaves of the trees, and I let myself be carried away by this gentle murmur. I close my eyes and breathe slowly, imagining that maybe, somewhere, you do the same. I've thought of all the things I want to say to you, while looking up at the sky that even absent, my love is infinite, like the universe that extends above us. May my thoughts travel to you, like shooting stars crossing space, that every bright light is a promise, the promise that you will never be alone. And as the old clock in the living room slowly ticks away, I feel enveloped by a faint, sweet peace, as if time slowed down to allow this moment of connection to exist, even if only in silence. When the moon is full, it shines with an intensity that seems to embrace everything we touch. On these nights, my longing mixes with the silver light, and I feel that perhaps you see it too, that even without knowing, your heart beats to the rhythm of this moonlight, illuminating your dreams, protecting your steps. Observing the sky is a ritual. It is a moment of hope and remembrance. It's a way of saying, I love you, without using words, because silence is sometimes deeper. That quiet night, I wrote a new letter to you. Not a letter to be delivered, but a letter to heaven, to the stars, to the moon. It said, Dear daughter, under the sky that covers us, I send my love in the form of light, that wherever you are, you can look up and feel that you are not alone. May the same sky that welcomes me also cradles you. May our thoughts meet among the stars, and may peace envelop you like the hug I could never give. And as the light rain began to fall, lulling the night with its soft sound, I knew even without certainty that you were listening to me, that our souls met at that moment, under the same silent sky, under the same eternal mystery. And that's how I live, night after night. I look up, I hope, and I believe that somewhere you are also looking at the stars, that even though we are far apart, we are connected. That love is an invisible thread that crosses time and space. And while the city lights go out and the world falls asleep, I remain there under the sky, hoping that one day, who knows, we can look at infinity together. In the silence of the night, when the world seems to retreat into its own mysteries, there is a special space where feelings become almost palpable. It is in this space that I try to find you, not always with words, not always with gestures, sometimes just with the silence of my love, which spreads like a gentle breeze, invisible, but present. I imagine that on some cold night, when the wind knocks at the windows and the shadows dance on the walls, my love has whispered to you, not aloud, but like a delicate, almost inaudible song, that melody that escapes the lips of the heart and travels on the currents of the air. Maybe it was when you closed your eyes to sleep, wrapped in the sheets, feeling the cold outside, but also an internal warmth that no one can see. Perhaps the moment you began to dream, this love infiltrated the images of your dream like a light, comforting touch. I think about it calmly, with the certainty that even without being together, something of ours was found in that silence between the sighs of the night. You must know, my daughter, that love has forms that cannot be expressed in words. He can be a whisper on the wind, a faint glow in the darkness, a presence that doesn't need to be seen to be felt. And so, on cold nights like this, I sit by the window, let the fresh air slowly enter, and close my eyes. I feel the beating of my heart, slow, steady, like the rhythm of an old song. And I let this light beat carry my thoughts to you somewhere. I don't know where you are. I don't know if you miss me. But I believe that somehow my love has become part of your world, even if only in your dreams. I remember when I was little, and my mother would lull me to sleep with stories. Gentle stories, full of hope and tenderness, that soothed my restless soul. I wish my love was like that for you, an invisible hug that wraps you up when the world outside is too harsh, a soft light that guides you through the night. I don't want you to feel sad or guilty about everything that didn't happen. I want you to find peace in the simple fact that even from a distance, I loved you deeply. And if someday, in some dream, my love touched your face like a gentle whisper, then at that moment, we are together. We are connected by an invisible thread of tenderness and silence, a bond that time cannot undo. As the night progresses and the stars hide behind soft clouds, I take a deep breath and give thanks for this moment, a moment of peace, a moment where love is enough, even without promises, without meetings, without words. Because in the end, all that matters is that love exists. May it be the last breath before sleep, the first thought when waking up. And so I let the night envelop me, knowing that perhaps on some cold night, my love has whispered to you, and that was enough to get you going. In the silence of my lonely nights, where the moon gently pours through the windows of my house, a silent prayer takes shape within my heart. Not a prayer of loud words or desperate requests, but a delicate hope, almost a whisper, that you may be happy. Even if the world hasn't told you the story of your origin, even if you don't know where you came from, may happiness find you. I imagine you walking through the streets, feeling the warmth of the sun on your skin, hearing the laughter of your friends, discovering your own path. And I wish from the bottom of my soul that each step of yours is light. May your heart never be filled with doubts about your worth, even without knowing your roots. Sometimes I wonder what your life will be like, far from my arms, far from the stories I never told you. Do you miss something you never had? Have you ever felt the absence of a love that always existed, even if invisible? I know I can't give you all the answers. I can't change the past or fill the void that's left. But I can wish with all the strength I have left that joy be your constant companion. May you find people who welcome you, who love you for who you are, not for what you lack. May you dance on summer afternoons without worries, letting out laughter that echoes in the wind. May you sleep peacefully, dreaming sweet dreams without the weight of loneliness. And if one day, when the world is silent, you wonder about your origins, I hope this search does not scare you. May it be a sweet adventure, not a bitter pain. Because the truth, my daughter, is that the love I feel for you transcends any story or secret. He is an invisible beacon that will always be lit, guiding you to the light. Even though I can never be physically present, my desire for your happiness is as real as the air I breathe. I wish I could hug you right now, tell you that everything will be okay, that you deserve a whole world of beauty and peace. But for now, I send this wish silently, like a gentle breath that passes through time and space, waiting to reach you. May you find serenity in difficult days. May you find hope in cloudy days. May you find, above all, love, even if you don't know where it came from. Because true love does not depend on stories or presences. It simply exists. And it is this love that, even from a distance, will never stop involving you. As the stars shine outside, I close my eyes and feel a deep calm. I know that somehow my desire for your happiness is a seed growing silently, waiting to blossom in you. And so, with a peaceful heart, I sleep, trusting that wherever you are, happiness is a path open for you to walk. As I write these last words, a deep silence envelops the room, filled only by the soft sound of the rain outside, which seems to wash away the shadows of the past. I feel here alone, but with a serenity that I never imagined finding. At the heart of this stillness is a simple, unchanging truth. You are my light. Even when time, distance, and silence seem to want to erase everything, even when I couldn't. Look into your eyes or hold your hand. You illuminated my soul. You are the delicate flame that never went out, even on the darkest nights. Sometimes love doesn't need physical presence to be real. It does not depend on exchanged glances or spoken words. My love for you is pure, serene, like a breeze that passes silently through the field, touching each leaf without haste. And that's why I say, with a calm heart, that you are my light, even without seeing me. I felt it in the simplest moments, in the beating of my own heart, in the little memories I keep, in the letters never delivered, in the doll that was never yours, in the dreams I shared only with myself. Every bit of love that existed between us shone silently, with an intensity that only those who love deeply know. There was no anguish or despair in this love, just a calm and deep acceptance of what was and what could not be. I understood that. Sometimes love is accepting absence and still keeping the flame burning. It's looking inside and feeling that, despite everything, there is light. And that light was you. You, with your simple and silent existence, illuminated my life in a way that no one else could. Even though you were invisible, you became my constant companion, my inspiration to move forward, my reason to smile through the tears. Today, as I finish this letter, I feel a gentle relief, as if a part of my heart has finally found peace. Because I know that wherever you are, that light that you represent continues to shine. And even if our paths never crossed, even if you don't know, the love I've always had, that light is there in me, in you, in everything we were and could have been. I close my eyes and send this last message to you, like a soft kiss on the wind, hoping it finds its way to your heart. You are my light, even without seeing me. May these words be a reminder of the immense and silent love I hold for you, eternally. And with this certainty, I let the night embrace me, cradling my peaceful heart, ready to rest. Because love, when it is true, never disappears. It just changes shape. It becomes silence. It becomes light. It becomes peace. The night was slowly advancing, and the dim light of the lamp danced with the soft movement of the shadows in the silent room. The rain continued its calm song outside, as if it wanted to lull that moment into a melody just for us. I hold the letter, just finished, with an almost reverent delicacy. Its corners are still slightly crumpled from the fingers that wrote it, but there is a sweetness in this paper, a soul of its own that carries more than words. It carries a piece of the heart. With a gentle gesture, I fold the letter. Each crease is made with care, as if by touching the paper, I could preserve the memories, emotions, and feelings that were recorded in each line. I fold the letter in half, then again, until it is small, almost like a sealed secret. I feel the weight of what was never said in person, of what was trapped between the lines of life. The letter is now a reliquary of silence, a whisper of love, patiently waiting to be discovered. With the same care, I open an old book with pages yellowed by time. This book is a refuge, a place where stories intertwine and where the past meets the present. I choose a page in the middle, a discrete space, perfect for hiding this piece of my being. I place the letter between the pages, feeling the rough texture of the old paper contrast with the smoothness of the letter paper. It's as if two different worlds met at that moment. The world of stories already lived and the world of stored emotions. I close the book with a deep calm, as if I were sealing a precious secret, a hidden treasure that only I know. This gesture is more than just holding the letter. It is a ritual of preservation, a silent way of keeping alive what cannot be said out loud. The book now carries with me this message, this confession of a love that never found its destiny. And so, between the pages, the letter remains hidden, waiting for the right moment, or perhaps simply existing to remind us that, even in silence, love does not disappear. As the rain hits the windows, I sigh and feel a gentle peace envelop my chest, knowing that somehow this folded and kept letter is an invisible link between the past and the future, between what was and what can still be. And so, with a light heart, I let the book rest on its shelf while time continues its path, silent and eternal. Because some stories, even when untold, remain alive, carefully kept, like the letter that now rests between the pages. And so, as the words become softer and softer, almost a whisper, my voice begins to dissolve into the stillness of the night. I feel the tranquility that comes with silence, a silence that is not empty, but full of memories and feelings held dearly. The rain outside continues its calm murmur, a soft melody that cradles every thought left unsaid. The wind, gentle, passes through the trees, caressing the leaves and bringing with it the freshness of the night. It is as if all of nature came together to guard the story that was never told out loud, but that lives within the chest. As my voice fades away, a feeling of deep peace remains in the air, like an invisible embrace that envelops everything. There is no rush, there is no pressure, just time flowing slowly, like the drops running down the windows, like the whisper of the wind between the branches. I leave you with this calm, with this serenity that comes from silence. May you feel, even in the absence of words, the love that was never lost. And as the sound of rain and wind fills the space, you can close your eyes and let yourself be carried away by this feeling of comfort, as if lying in a quiet field under a starry sky where each star is a dream, a secret, a silent hope. Here, in this moment, there is no pain or doubt, just the certainty that everything that was felt remains, even without being said. The letter is saved, the memories are alive, and the love that's silent love remains untouched, eternal. So I say goodbye slowly, my voice barely audible, letting the wind carry this message wherever it needs to go, until the story becomes a whisper among the trees, a soft echo in time, a comfort to those who listen to it on the quietest nights. And now only the sound of nature remains, lulling your thoughts, inviting you to rest. The rain continues its gentle rhythm, and the wind dances slowly, while the night follows its calm and endless course. May this peace accompany you, may silence embrace you, and may dreams find their way. Good night.